Many qualities we may dislike.
I'm vengeance.
Wakanda forever!
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek Fix podcast. It's another Friday, which means it's yet another Bad Batch episode review. We got Dibes over in Philly. We got AJ down below. I'm Low, representing the West Coast. Let's talk Star Wars, gentlemen. This episode was titled Decommissioned. And I gotta say, I am still tiring of the video game RPG format out here. Please retrieve this and come back and I'll give you this information.
Yeah.
But Sid, as I said in the last episode, if you guys missed it, is voiced by Rhea Perlman from Cheers and Matilda. She's a great actress. She's awesome. I loved how she pulled the bow out of Omega's hands. Like, let me show you. You gotta build some strength on those scrawny arms, you know. And overall, I really, really enjoyed this episode. I'm gonna save it for some of you guys to dig into some of the pleasant surprises because I know we have a lot to talk about. But AJ, I'll throw it to you first, man. First impressions of the episode, just first thoughts when you look back on this episode.
That was a great episode. I thought that Sid was a great addition. I love that they are keeping him on the in these episodes. I love that Omega's on her way of trying to fight and trying to help out the Bad Batch a lot more, and she does help a lot more in this. Even though she does get into trouble again, which is it's no
probably my
surprise.
least favorite part of the episode.
Yeah, it's no surprise at this point. Wrecker on at first I wasn't. I'll let you guys get deeper into that, but at first I wasn't suspecting very much other than like a headache. But this episode just all I know is Tech better get with that
Hey guys, I'm not one to boast and all that, but
you
I hate
called
to
it.
say
Yeah.
I told you so. I
Yeah,
called
you
that
did, you
shit.
did.
And he even he whispered, "The good soldiers follow."
Mhm.
I was like, "No!"
Yeah.
What about you, Dives? What were your just first impressions of the episode? What caught your eye?
Yeah, real quick, just another filler episode, but nonetheless, I thought it was very enjoyable. There was a lot of good, just individual things about this episode. Great animation. I love Omega learning the crossbow. She's like becoming the Merida from Brave. I love that whole bit of that. It's a lot of fun. But like you said, there's two patterns in every single episode of the Bad Batch so far. It's Wrecker hitting his head and Omega getting in trouble, and that was. For better or worse, it's definitely getting a little tiresome, especially with all these cameos we're getting. It's the first episode was the Clone Wars. The second episode was the Rebels. The third episode was the Mandalorian. This episode went full Mandalorian. Retrieve the droid, whatever, and then get the intel, get the money, whatever. But I'm getting a little tired of these cameos, whereas The Mandalorian earned it. It was a self-contained story, and they weaved the cameos were like, wow! Now it's how many cameos have we gotten? We got my man Kanan Jarrus, Caleb Doom. We've got Admiral Tarkin. We've got Saul Guerrero. We've got Cut. We've got Fennec Shan. We've got Bib. And now we have the Martez sisters. So we're going to get into that. But I would like to kind of see these final, how many episodes, continue this story, because I feel like it's taking away from the story. So as great as Dave Filoni is, he's the freaking man. We're going to get into it. It was a good filler episode. That's about it.
And that's actually a perfect segue to go into memorable moments, because I'm gonna be honest. If you look back at the final season of the Clone Wars, the first 4 episodes focused on Ahsoka and the Martez sisters, who we got to see a surprise cameo from. And I think it's exciting how previous reviews for this season, we've talked about, oh, who are we going to see? Who's going to pop up? And if you could have put money on the Martez sisters, I would have been like, no way, man. But here they are. And I'm one of the few people that actually enjoyed them when they first appeared in the Clone Wars. I liked humanizing a different aspect of the universe, and also seeing the underbelly of Coruscant. Remind me, Dives, what's that area called again? Like level 13 or something like that?
Yes, 1313 or something.
Yeah. That's the one. And they were going to base a video game off of that world. And I love that Trace and Rafa are from there, and they live they fend for themselves. The sister dynamic was awesome. It kind of reminded me of Zombieland, like us against the world, like, but they're badass chicks, and I like that. I thought that was really cool. The spice running stuff was cool for me. But I will admit, though, as this falls into memorable moments for me, but not in a good way. The second Omega got her foot caught and was help, I was like, oh god, like of course she got her foot stuck on the conveyor belt and she's gonna fall into lava. Like, of course, like that part was memorable in a very bad way for me. But
did anybody get Toy Story 3 vibes from that? Like
a little bit, yeah.
I got Terminator vibes.
A little bit.
Oh.
Because I heard some tones in Kevin Kiner's score that kind of made me think, like it just kind of made me think of Terminator. But Dibes, what were some memorable moments for you? I know you're probably not one of your favorite episodes, but what was memorable for you?
Yeah, sure. The best joke in Star Wars, maybe history, went down. So I'm in my mid-30s, so I obviously appreciate a good dad joke when you hear it. When you saw Trace go, is there an Echo in here? And then you saw Echo just leap into the frame and go, yes.
But can I speak to that really fast?
What's that, AJ?
Did you get Rush Hour 3 vibes from that? Where he says, I am you. No, you're not. I am you. I am you. No.
No, and also, Dibes, that has roots in like classic comedy. Because if you go back to like old comedy, it's like, is there a doctor in the house? I'm a doctor. Like,
yeah, exactly. So that was a good moment. Wrecker, finally getting the voices in his head. In this episode, it was actually sooner than I expected. So that was really fun. For me, my favorite moment was the mentioning of R7. When you heard R7, that was even way beyond Martez, which quickly. I thought Rafa was actually pretty decent in this episode. She was actually way more likable for me, because I remember going during our reviews, Loretto, of the Clone Wars season 7, and I was not on board with the Martez sisters, which we'll get into. When we get into predictions, I have some takes on that and where this is going, because that makes me think where Dave Filoni has this season going. But R7's the droid of Ahsoka Tano, and I would be. Now, like my whole vibe before this was Boba Fett. We're gonna get Boba Fett. Everything points to right now Wrecker, Order 66, and some sort of Jedi. And I'll save that for who we think Rafa and Trace were talking to at the very end there. But the R7 moment, I was so happy that I know they kind of differed his color scheme there, which was a little interesting. But R7 is back, and what does that mean for Order 66? What does that mean for Wrecker? What does that mean for the Bad Batch and the Jedi? And what does that mean for the Martez sisters? Maybe that means they're here to stay. Maybe, because if you remember, the Martez sisters, like you said, Loretto, they were like, it was, we all we need, we all we got, we all we need. And they were like, F the Jedi, F everybody. It's going to be really interesting to see how these next several episodes proceed.
And real quickly, I just want to say it was nice for Omega to have someone to relate to in Trace. So that was awesome, and I think Rafa is in full freedom fighter mode, which is something all about, because this is like the beginning of the rebellion. It's the early stages. We got Saw Gerrera's extreme faction of rebels. You know, there's in the universe, there's people rebelling against this new empire. So, AJ, did you do your memorable moments yet?
I don't really have any memorable moments in this episode. The only
things
thing
clearly stick out to you.
Yeah, not really. I would say the joke one was probably the most memorable moment for me. But other than that, I didn't really have that many memorable moments for this episode.
Go ahead, Dabs.
I just want to say, as a person that was not a fan of that 4-episode arc of the Martez sisters, it 100% makes season 7 that much better with the Martez sisters, knowing that there was a function of who they were and what they're going to be here in the Bad Batch season. And I will say that I'm happy that it wasn't just like a one and done. I'm just pissed off that I didn't pick that up when we were talking on previous episodes about who could show up next. It never occurred to me that the Martez sisters would show up here, but I'm appreciative that Dave Filoni had a vision and he was like, Martez sisters. So that was kind of cool.
Well, it also signifies that he is planning on connecting basically everything that's been done. So Clone Wars, Mandalorian, everything is going to be connected within the next few years of Star Wars. So that's a good thing, at least for me.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a perfect segue for us to go into the predictions. But before we get away from it, I just got to say it was a pleasant surprise for me to hear the battle droids talking again. That was actually a highlight for me too. Like, oh, where are we? Oh, we're shooting them. Okay, Roger. And it was just like, yes, I love those guys. They're so silly. But for me, they hold a special place in my heart. The Roger, ever since episode 1's always been something I say constantly to this day. People get it, people don't. But it's like, I'll be at the grocery store, just joking around like Roger. And it's like, do you get it? No, you don't? Okay, I'm stupid. Don't mind me. But with that being said, guys, AJ, let me ask you, who do you think Trace and Rafa are talking to? Is it Ahsoka Tano or is it someone else?
I think it's Ahsoka Tano. I really do think that's why I was saying that everything's connecting, because I really do think it's Ahsoka Tano that they're talking to. So yeah, that's my prediction is Ahsoka Tano. Maybe she's with somebody else. Maybe she in this. No, I'm not going to get that deep into it. But I do believe that it's Ahsoka Tano for now.
So I got to pass this one to Dives. I mean, he's like the number one Ahsoka Tano fan. He wrote a 7-minute video of why she's the greatest Jedi ever. So Dives, coming from the super fan, man, how excited are you? And do you think it's her?
So I don't know how to read this, because in the episode, they refer to whoever they're talking to as a male. What does that mean? It could mean nothing. It could mean it's it could be Ahsoka in full fulcrum mode, and they don't know it's Ahsoka. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think there's a lot of suspects here. It could be either Saul Gerrera, it could either be Bail Organa, it could be Captain Rex, and I think my money is on Captain Rex here, because when they were like, we have some clones here, some unique clones here for you. Yeah. Captain Rex would be very interested in kind of knowing exactly who the Bad Batch are. So I think my money right now is on Captain Rex. Ahsoka Tano, knowing how much Dave Filoni loves that guy, would be really, really fun. For me personally, though, the way this is building, especially with Wrecker and Order 66, it makes sense to have a Jedi. And that's why I'm like 50-50 between Rex and Ahsoka. It would maybe both. Maybe he directs them. Maybe it's Rex and he directs them to Ahsoka, or vice versa. But at some point, I think that's coming to a head. And also coming to a head is Wrecker, dealing with good soldiers follow orders, and it's going to be just a freaking nightmare for everybody involved. So Or it's just simply we're thinking way too much into this, and it's as simple as Omega shows her force powers, and that is what triggers Wrecker into Order 66. I don't know.
No, it's funny. I was wondering why you kept tying in the Jedi, but then that would trigger Wrecker. You're right. I gotta rewatch the episode because I didn't catch that Rafa said he, or
Yep.
she referred to the hologram as him.
Yep. What if it's Maul? What if it's Maul in the hologram? And we know that like Rafa and Trace would kind of like they're very vulnerable. They're very susceptible. We know that like Crimson Dawn is going down right now. So what if it was and we know that with everything with Star Wars Rebels, what if it was Maul in disguise there?
And
Giving
he's playing into their good nature maybe because
I
he
don't
does
think
that.
they really care about the clones at this point in time. No, I don't think he really cares about them. I think he just wants to build his own empire within the underground. But yeah, you can go.
So the biggest thing here is that if it's Ahsoka, it would be a little bit retconning what is going on in the Ahsoka novel, because Ahsoka was kind of like in isolation at the time when all of this is going down. I mean, Dave Filoni, we saw it with Kanan Jarrus kind of twisting it a little bit, but not really changing the overall story. Maybe we see that as well, but that's kind of like what everything.
She didn't really seclude herself. She was still active in the Ahsoka novels, really, though.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but from what I heard, like Ahsoka's like isolated. Like I don't know how active she is at this point because the Empire is only like 6 weeks in. Like they're brand new, so you got to think that like Ahsoka is like completely on her own right now on that like uninhabited planet. So I don't know. So I think it's Captain Rex.
Between Rebels and the Ahsoka novel and Mandalorian, Bo-Katan does eventually meet up with her. So I wouldn't say that she was secluded all by herself for like the entire time. I will say that she does go out and does her adventures and stuff like that, and eventually she meets Bo-Katan. And
so really quickly, because I'm terrible with timelines. How long is this gap from where Rebels is and where we are in the Bad Batch? I know it's like a few months after the Order 66 or whatever, a few weeks, few months, whatever. What's the timeline between Rebels and where we're at? Like, because I think in Rebels she wasn't old, but she was older, right?
It's a few years.
Yeah, I remember she looked older in Rebels for sure.
I'm not to look it up, but I know it's been a few years between Clone Wars or Bad Batch and Rebels. It's for a few years, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a few years. I would say a few years sounds pretty good. So Star Wars Rebels takes place right before A New Hope. So we're like right before that. So
we're like a stone's throw from it. We're not too far away.
No. So it's like I had the thought. Who did I think?
Well, this is how I'll put it. You have what is it? Yeah, Revenge of the Sith, where Luke is still a baby, and then New Hope, where Luke is a teenager. So it's between like 10 years to 12 years, I would say.
Okay.
I was gonna say, how old is he supposed to be in A New Hope? Like what, 16?
Yeah, that I'll probably go around that.
Okay. Okay, so we're right in that range then, within that time frame. Okay. Well, with that all being said, do we have any other predictions of where this series is going? I think we know how it's going to end. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little tense when Wrecker started freaking out because as much as I called my shot, I wasn't ready to see it happen. I think like Vibes, it happened a lot earlier than I thought we would. We're not even halfway through the season. So it makes me wonder, like, A, is he gonna turn? B, is he gonna hook up with Crosshair? And C, like, at some point, are they gonna have to take Wrecker down? Because, obviously he's the muscle of the group. I mean, they're all talented warriors, but obviously Wrecker's got some power to him. So that's gonna be heartbreaking to watch if they got to take down their brother. What do you guys think?
if it is Rex, like fingers crossed that he holds out long, because you saw him fighting it. Like there was some element of him like, fighting back the inhibitor chip. So fingers crossed that they eventually meet Rex and all that kind of stuff, and Tech figures out his ability to get the inhibitor chip or turn it off or whatever out of Wrecker. So we'll see. We will see.
Yeah. I gotta admit though, that's probably one of the most emotional scenes in Star Wars history, with Rex's tears coming out of his eyes.
I am one with the Force, and the Force is with me.
And and then when he's got the guns on Ahsoka and he's crying.
Oh yeah, and he's like shaking.
Yeah, dude. I was just like, oh my god! Like after all they've been through, like all those seasons of.
I do have so the point of the Martez sisters is 100% like, if you remember, the Martez sisters kind of definitely brought forward Ahsoka Tano and her, opinion on the Jedi. What made the Martez sisters so memorable in the Clone Wars was that like the Jedi is not like this beloved group. They're not like to like the lower class, middle class. They're not like praised as much as we think they are. And I think that's when Star Wars gets really interesting. And I think it makes complete sense that we're going to see Jedi start coming in into the Bad Batch. I think that's a near lock.
All right. I'm glad I'm not alone. Nicole Diabler says, Martez sisters, woohoo! Yeah, no, and honestly, I'm with you. I really liked their arc originally, and I'm excited to see where they go from here. Could they possibly appear in another series? Like, do we have another like Rebels type series in the works here?
It's very I mean, that would be kind of cool if it is Ahsoka Tano and she has a new show coming out. Does that mean we're going to get a Martez sisters live action? I don't know.
That'd be awesome.
I could see that happening.
Yeah. And I do think Omega's AJ, you nailed it with like everything's connected. You're 100% right. I do think even Omega is going to have a long run here heading forward, whether it's on a small screen, big screen, live action, animated. I think that's only going to just keep rolling. Star Wars is there's just so much content coming out. Omega is a gold mine, and she's just adorable.
Guys, I gotta say, I feel like, especially at this point in the season, I feel like we're exhausting how much we can stretch this out because of how slow paced the storytelling is right now.
Yeah, it is.
So in my opinion, I think we pretty much hit everything. AJ, you want to give us your final grade? Do you have any other final thoughts, random notes, or things twirling in your head that you might want to address to us in terms of the Bad Batch?
My final grade would be a B on this one. I did like all the chemistry within this episode between Bad Batch and the Martez sisters. I can't remember which one it was, but the one that was fighting Hunter. I really thought those two were awesome together.
That's Rafa. She's older.
Yes. And like I said before, it was just one of my criticisms of this series right now is just it's getting annoying at this point, but making Omega the oops, I messed up and I need help over and over and over again. And
it's like Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, that's basically what it is at this point.
Yeah, it's like stop.
Of course her foot got stuck.
Exactly.
Of course it did.
Yeah, I like the music.
So that's like an 8.
Amazing.
An 8-ish.
What?
Like out of 10, would you give it an 8?
Yeah, an 8. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's actually high praise for this this fun filler we got. What about you?
That one criticism I had. That was all. Everything else I really did like.
It was a good episode. Don't get me wrong. Like I could still watch these every single Friday if they pump them out for the next 52 weeks. I'm in. I'm 100% in. They're fun. That being said, like knowing the problem is expectations. The problem is season 7 of the Clone Wars. The problem is Rebels. I expect a lot, and I as knowing how much Dave Filoni crushes character development, knowing how much Dave Filoni crushes storytelling, we're not there yet. We're not there yet, and like I feel like the groundwork for these characters has already been set like literally 2 weeks ago. the relationship, the father-daughter relationship between Hunter and Omega, the uncle between Wrecker and Omega. This week we saw, I think it was Tech teaching Omega how to like fire a crossbow. So we'll see. We'll see if the payoff is as good.
Echo. It was Echo.
Was that Echo?
It was Echo that, yeah.
I just want the story to get moving. And it's, other than episode 1, like nothing's kind of happened. So that's my take. I'll give it a 7.
You know what? You hit the nail on the head. And I'm really glad you said that, Dibes, because imagine if like we never got season 7 of the Clone Wars. And we waited and we waited and we waited, and then we got this. Maybe we'd be a little bit more excited about everything. But the fact that we got that final season and it was amazing, the fact that we have Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian season 2 coming out, and Mandalorian's been amazing. I think the bar for this show was really, really high, almost maybe too high for us to even be satisfied, I think. So I think
it's still better than the beginning of the Clone Wars. Like there's not even and Rebels. I would say this first 6 episodes are better than anything from the Clone Wars or Rebels.
Are you talking about season 1 of either series?
Yeah.
That's high praise. I mean, I think they both start slow, but I think season 1 of Clone Wars was interesting because of Asajj Ventress. She was a really good villain, and she had some really good arcs in the middle of the season 1. But that's neither here nor there, guys. Just to give you guys a quick grade of this episode of The Bad Batch. What is it? Episode 6?
Yep.
Episode 6, Decommissioned. AJ gave it an 8. Dibes gave it a 7. I will also give it a 7. I'm a little bit tired of the format at this point. I think that we're exhausting the Bad Batch they're pretty much bounty hunters at this point, hunting information for Sid. And I think that would have been interesting like 8 years ago, 6 years ago. But I think the fact that the Mandalorian exists makes this really redundant, in my opinion. I want to see more. I want to see more story progression with these characters. I mean, it is about them, but I almost feel like you said, Dibes, we're getting so many cameos that it's taking away from the Bad Batch themselves.
Rise of Skywalker syndrome.
So I hope that, episode 7 through the finale, I hope we start to pick things up. I wonder, like, is Tarkin gone for good? We haven't even seen Admiral Rampart since he had his introduction.
Or Crosshair. What the heck is Crosshair?
Right. Like, the fact that we haven't even seen Crosshair is very concerning. I feel like, sure, maybe they're saving him for the end, but that is a long stretch of time for us to like think about other things and then realize, oh snap, Crosshair is still here, so
I would low-key love if Rafa and Trace were talking to Crosshair and we figured out that Crosshair was like a double agent the whole time, like working multiple angles. That'd be kind of fun.
That would be interesting, but highly unlikely.
And then Wrecker becomes the main villain of the Bad Batch. That would be kind of a major twist.
Well, it's already been proven that he can be beaten easily.
It's true.
All of the episodes. It's been proven that he can be beaten easily within all the episodes that we watched so far.
I think he's also proven that he can defeat himself. He'll probably run into a wall and hit his head.
Just put him in the head.
All right. So, with that being said, guys, that about wraps up a review. If you haven't already, anyone watching, please like and subscribe down below. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, we have the summer blockbuster movie draft, the greatest summer blockbusters of all time. I got to ask you guys have your rankings? Are you guys ready? Because I'm pumped. This is going to be a crazy draft. And I'm not even talking about tentpole superhero action. There is so many films that have been released in summer and were either A, critically acclaimed, or B, like just loved by all and huge box office hits. We got comedy, animation, you name it. It's going to be a fun time. I was going to ask you guys what movies you guys are picking, but that's a conversation for tomorrow. So yeah, please tune into this channel tomorrow, 8 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, for Dibes, for AJ and myself. We are the Suit Up Geeks, and we'll catch you guys next time.